Hey, 935 K-Day, Noah at Night, Noah Ayala. And this is just a friend of the station now, man.
Hey.
He's the homie. He's been here a gang of times before, and now he's just, he's just here, man. It's my friend, my partner, X-Rated.
Hey, what's happening with the brother, man? Thank you for having me back. I appreciate y'all's family, West Coast.
All day. I guess the first thing we got to address, the last interview we did.
Oh man,
and I don't like to address the commenters, but I gotta address you motherfuckers today, man.
Give it to him.
All right, so one of the things me and X have in common is we're both from Northern California. In particular, I grew up in Stockton, from Sacramento,
20916.
You know what I'm saying? And in the last video, I referred to Stockton and Sacramento as the Bay Area.
Right.
Now, I'm very aware that Stockton is a San Joaquin Valley.
Right.
All right, shout out the Mustang Deltas or Delta Mustangs. You know what I'm saying? I know what time it is.
Right.
But I got news for you. If you get out of like Northern California, everyone outside of Northern California thinks that it's all the Bay Area.
It's the yay.
So I just said it for sake of just ease of use.
Right. And it's an accomplishment. And to keep it 100, we saw that with Mozzie. For Mozzie to be successful, his first jump for Sacramento was the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
He had to go to the Bay. He was accepted in one mob. He had Filthy Rich. He had the Mechanics. He had Jay Stalin. Them brothers made sure that he got where he was going. Then he made the jump to L.A. And Kendrick Lamar and YG embraced him out here because he had to leave the Valley in order to do his thing. So the first place that he was recognized outside of home was the Bay Area.
Right.
And they considered him a Bay Area artist for that. And it is what it is. And at this point, he's transcended. He's just a West Coast artist. I look at it the same way when it comes to me. I'm from Sacramento. In order for me to actually be successful in this business and succeed, I had to make that jump. The first jump for me was to the Bay Area, trying to give it Too Short, trying to work with RBL, trying to work with Cougnut, and then make the transition to be embraced by the brothers in LA that showed me so much love. So it is what it is. And shout out to Cocaine from promoting for making sure I'm straight at all times, period. So it is. If you looking, people have MCs. Like, where do people think Lauryn Hill is from? Most people gonna say
probably New York.
They gonna say New York, Redman. They gonna say New York because out this way we don't understand that particular part. If we're not involved, it's Jersey. So it's the same thing. So we know what it is.
And I'm saying Stockton, all we got is Brian Sampson and the Diaz brothers.
That's it.
I'm just trying to put us on, Stockton. Damn.
Shout out to the young man, Haiti Baby. He working in Stockton. He had a ridiculous moment, man. You got to give it to him, but he recovered it. Maybe it was a strategy. But the brother handling his business, he popping his videos, is popping. So salute to the homeboy. Oh my goodness, it was real ridiculous, and that was a freestyle.
Oh yeah,
for
when
sure.
I saw it, cause I didn't know he was from Stockton when I saw it, and then I found out he was from Stockton. I said, that's some Stockton fuckboy shit for sure.
Yeah.
Representing. Exactly. I wasn't mad. Instantly a supporter after that.
And then it was like, strategically, he got all the attention and hit him with a dope-ass song. His comeback was to immediately hit him with some fire. So salute to Haiti Baby, putting on for Stockton, period.
So X-Rated, I know you dropped the album last Friday.
This coming Friday.
My bad. I know you just showed me the music video, which is fire.
2 weeks.
Let's talk about it, because last time you were here, we talked about a lot of you like being in prison and what that was like and your whole story. But now it's dope to see you out here moving.
Yes, sir.
And the people are like embracing you.
They are.
I saw so many comments of people like, I never thought I'd see him like walking outside or in real life, or I never thought I'd see a music video.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know that I thought that either. And my brother Lewis can relate to that. I was doing my time. And my hopes, I had hopes and dreams. Some of them were naive, but I just had this feeling, this sensation that if I stayed prepared, that I would run into some blessings and I had an opportunity to come home. What that would look like, I wasn't certain, but I was trying to influence that by education. Let me shape so that I got an opportunity to go into criminal justice reform. So I'm going to get the necessary certifications. Let me get these degrees, take these classes, and let me write these rhymes so I could come home and be useful in the lane that I'm known for. So let me use my respect that I've garnered in hip hop to have a voice in this other lane and actually justify what I went through. Because otherwise, now we got a person that died for nothing that we were responsible for. It don't matter, we were young, we were children. That's been hashed and hashed. But the bottom line is, if I don't make the necessary change and impact somebody else's life in a positive way, then it was a waste. So I felt the obligation, even when I didn't even know I was coming home. We talking about 31 to life. I did 26 years of a 31 to life sentence. So we talk about 6,935 months and 26 days.
Say that one more time, man. Say that one more time for the people in the back.
For the people in the back.
For the people in the back.
Any event if they don't understand numbers, man. Say that one more time, man.
We talking about, let me make sure I got this right. We talking about 93,000 and some odd months, man, and 26 days. Woo. 26 years and 26 days. 26 years, 5 months, 26 days is how long I was in prison as a result of my behavior.
Right.
26 years, 5 months, 26 days.
Off air talking about you weren't even go to jail for what you went to jail for.
Right.
All that time ago now.
Right. And that's because of brothers who did the work that I'm trying to do now for other people. Governor Jerry Brown, because of, the voters and, California seen a lot and the country seen a lot when it comes to criminal justice, injustices. And so there was pressure. Jerry Brown struck down the felony murder rule. So out of all developed countries in the world, we were the last one that still had a rule that said 10 people commit a homicide, one person pulls the trigger, 10 people are guilty of first-degree murder.
Wow, that's crazy to me.
That's not possible. I agree to go do this robbery. But I don't agree with you going to the back and shooting this lady and taking her purse and what all this other stuff you did. I just agreed to do a robbery, right? So I'm guilty of robbery. Right. I don't agree with what you did. And so now, but I got a robbery and I got a homicide because this person went off track and went and did what he did. So that's no longer legal in the state of California. Right. You are prosecuted for the crime you committed, not for the crime that was committed.
So when did that change? When did that law change?
That law changed in 2018, just last year. Wow. That was one of the last things he did before he left office. And, we were blessed that Gavin Newsom won and came in and upheld those things and made sure that they got through the California Constitution.
Well, I got a question for both of you. And first, let me introduce Lewis.
Please do.
We didn't say your name yet.
Lewis L. Reed, national organizer for #Cut50.
Tell him who you are, brother.
Yeah, man.
One more time for people in the back.
Yeah. Lewis L. Reed, national organizer for #Cut50 from Connecticut, the other C, the other C, way across, way across the country.
We wouldn't live without y'all because we need ESPN. So we love y'all for that alone.
That's right.
It's always super dope to be in California, man.
Right.
And my experience is not different from my brother's. I served nearly 14 years in federal prison.
Wow.
And I had one of the largest indictments of its kind in Connecticut history at the time. And when I was incarcerated, similar to my brother, there were two things that happened with me. Number one, there was a spiritual conversion that happened in my life. And the second thing is that an education passport opened up in my mind. And I began to realize that those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, but often furthest from resources and power.
Yes, sir.
And it lit a righteous indignation in me, right? So I saw too many black, brown, and poor white people who were incarcerated, excessively prosecuted, and disproportionately sentenced for the stuff that people who came from affluent areas, they got a fraction of the time.
Right. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I mean, so think about it. And we'll get a little bit more into the First Step Act as it relates to, President Trump signing that bill into law, and the how we had orchestrated that at Cut50, how we orchestrated that particular bill. But let's look at crack cocaine, right? Crack versus crack cocaine.
Yep.
Crack is a derivative of cocaine.
True.
The only difference is that you got rich white boys in Beverly Hills that use coke, and you got people on the corners in Compton that use crack.
Right.
And so if you get busted prior to the passage of the First Step Act, if you got busted with 10 grams of crack cocaine, that was the equivalent. Well, if you got busted with 10 grams of coke, that was the equivalent of getting busted with 150 grams of crack cocaine.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
But you know why it's crazy? It's crazy because we are the people who are the primary consumers of it, right?
It's designed to be crazy.
Exactly.
Now we talking.
It's purpose by design. So when I saw the people who are around me, I mean, you think about it, right? You got cats that's coming in 19, 20 years old. They at the bottom rung of their criminal enterprise, and they sentenced to the highest numbers.
Right.
Like that bothers
There's the people that can't, afford a lawyer. People that can't.
These cats can't even afford commissary. Never mind a lawyer. Yeah. A lawyer would be something that's sophisticated, right? These cats can't even afford to jump on Core Links. That's the email portal when you're in the feds, in order to send a 25 cent per minute email home to their baby mamas.
Even that's crazy to me.
Right.
25 cents a minute, and then
Yeah.
they charge these crazy phone prices and all this.
Yeah.
It's all,
We
to
gonna
me,
kill Global Telelink is we after that thing, man. It's a racket. It's a monopoly.
No, it is, though.
I,
It is.
I walk
This
in the
whole shit's a
store. I
racket.
could choose Doritos or Lay's.
Right.
But if I'm an inmate and I walk to the phone, I can't choose what carrier I use. I got to choose to use the phone or choose not to talk to my children, not to talk to my mother, not to talk to whoever it is, my lawyer.
And not only the
know.
mental anguish, and that can't be good for the mental health at all, but it's
Not.
I mean, so when you think about it, right? So I'll just jump right into the First Step Act. And in December of last year, we were successful. Cut 50. Cut 50 is a bipartisan criminal justice organization co-founded by CNN political commentator Van Jones.
What up, Van Jones?
Van Jones.
Van Jones is also the CEO of the Reform Alliance as well. That
Yes,
is
sir.
co-founded by Jay-Z, Meek Mill, Bob Kraft, and Mike Rubin, and a few other million and billionaires.
Hip hop stand up.
We passed the First Step Act. We got Congress to pass the First Step Act. That coalition was led by people who were formerly incarcerated. We didn't have like this big treasure chest of money that we were pulling out of, right? We had virtually, like how we say in hip hop, that brown paper bag under the mattress drug money,
Right.
Yes,
right,
sir.
right. Like, you know, we had to like go in the penny jar, and we
Yeah.
had to scrape and scrounge in order to make sure that we had the temerity and the tenacity to get this thing across the finish line.
Like that brown bag that Jay-Z took to Kevin Laws when he was trying to get him to put out Ain't No Nigga, right?
Exactly.
That's what we got.
For
We got
real.
that brown bag money.
Exactly. And that's
if we got money.
that's the equivalent of the spirit of how we fought to get the First Step Act done.
Right.
Right. And so you know, it was a bipartisan criminal justice bill that was introduced by Hakeem Jeffries, Doug Collins, a Republican and a Democrat. And basically what they said was that we are tired of rewarding the Federal Bureau of Prisons for failure. So think about it. Our Department of Corrections nationwide, it's the only institution that we reward for failure. Right? They have an 80-90% failure rate, and we continue to refund them with our
Yeah,
tax
dump money
dollars.
into that. Mhm.
Right? So
Basically fuel the fire.
exactly.
Indeed.
So Jared Kushner, talking about people being in proximity to issue. Jared Kushner's father he did federal prison time. When Jared Kushner got into the White House, he didn't forget that. So he reached out to Jessica Jackson, who was our national director and our other co-founder, and Van Jones, and said, listen, I want to work on federal criminal justice reform.
Right.
And so they said, okay, cool. Let's do it. At first there was some apprehension about it, but you know, they said let's do it. So ultimately,
Hey, low key, Jared Kushner might be working on that criminal justice reform for himself, though. Let's keep it all the way real, though. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
You know,
the first thing we notice in life and in law is that the law may not have been created for us, but it will have its benefits.
Right.
So whatever his
Right.
motivation was, I'm grateful for it.
right, even if people do the right things for the wrong reasons, right?
well,
Like,
yeah, and you
so
see the
long as
debate,
people-
especially online, because even the things that like Kim K's doing, and it's like she's doing great things.
Well, Kim
Anytime-
K is an ally of ours.
No,
She-
that's-
she-
Let's talk about that because
Well,
I
hold
feel
on.
like she gets a bad rap.
She
Let me
does.
finish my point
Yeah.
first. But that's my point, though. It's like what she's doing is phenomenal and it's amazing. But I think people struggle with it because it's like, okay, she's doing it with Trump, but it's like if it's Trump, if it's Obama,
But here-
the
here's-
result is the result.
Here's the deal.
Talk to me.
Here's
I
the
don't
deal.
know. I think they struggle because it's Kim K.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so
exactly.
this
They
is
do.
my thing. First and foremost, like Kim K has more social media followers than some countries
Right.
have citizens.
Indeed.
Right.
There we go.
And,
Talk
and,
about
and,
it.
and she got more zeros in her bank account than probably, you know, all of us in this room
Combined.
Not me.
Okay, Bitcoin, relax.
This
I'm
woman,
Bitcoin rich. Hey,
Hey, Bitcoin.
this woman could be using her platform for juvenile diabetes, for HIV/AIDS,
Right.
for something that's far much more colorful, for something that's far much more palatable, but she's not. She's choosing to invest her resources, her celebrity, her time, fill in the blank, for criminal justice reform,
Right.
for
It's
baby
amazing.
daddies,
It's amazing.
right? For my cousins, for your brothers, your homies in them, and she doesn't have to be doing it. That's first and foremost. Second of all, we fail to remember that her father was
Right.
part of the Dream Team.
Yeah.
And if you listen to her testimony, she talks about like how ever since she was a little girl, she wanted to go to law school. Ever since she was a little girl, she wanted to get involved in criminal justice and criminal justice defense. Right. So who are we as a society to knock her for pursuing her dream?
Right.
As it relates to, you know, her pursuing her law degree and being involved in criminal justice reform. One of the things I always say is, man, I got 99 problems with 45, but the First Step Act ain't one of them.
Yeah.
Right. So when I was incarcerated, I didn't care who was in the White House so long as I got out of the prison house to get me back to my mother's house.
Probably how ASAP Rocky feels right
exactly.
now.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
ASAP gonna tell Trump not to help him?
Nope.
That's what we know not gonna happen.
And then you know what ASAP's gonna do? As soon as he gets back to America, he's gonna get on TV and be like, "Thank you, Mr. Trump."
Right.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
But
It is. On his way toward the campaign.
But
let's wait for him to get out first.
Is there
Right,
anything
that
wrong
part.
with that though? Right. So again, there are many things that I take exception to this administration on immigration, immigration policy.
There's nothing
foreign
wrong
policy.
with it. This is the thing. This is the thing. There's nothing wrong with it. But we also know how that's going to be manipulated. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you're the person in prison, you just want to get out. And trust me,
And
if it
families.
was me
And
the
families,
family
right.
and friends, so I get, and there's nothing wrong with it. But at the same time, I guess the one thing you could nitpick at is it's going to be propagandized. You know, it's going to be
like
a certain way.
Let me say
everything
this.
is.
Let me say this. We had a conversation earlier off mic, so I'm gonna throw this in here. The husband, right, of Kim Kardashian, said, "If you can't be used, you're useless." Right.
Speak on it.
And so now we talking about a football player that can't be used is on the bench, and if he can't be used from the bench, he's off the team, and it's his dream to play. It's our dream to be free when we behind them walls.
Right.
But Kanye said, what I don't want to be is I don't want to be abused. So now it could be propagandized, but the key is it abusive? Is it abusive? Have they been harmed by that propaganda? Because there's going to be propaganda. It just would be, do we like the people that are pushing the propaganda, or do we not? That's the nature of politics.
And I also want to add,
That's a good point, too.
Last Friday, me and his brother, our lives intersected with one another. At the same time I was in Las Vegas, Nevada, we had approximately 2,200 people being released under the First Step Act.
Nice.
2,200 people
That's
got
what's up.
released
Yeah.
last week. Right,
Let my
2,200
people go.
Right, and think about this. So you got 2,200 birthdays that are going to be celebrated in the free world. 2,200 plates that are going to be at the table for Thanksgiving. 2,200, Christmases, if people so choose to celebrate Christmas, are going to have gifts under the tree. Right, that's a direct result of the First Step Act, and I think that we have been focused too long on the problems, and we haven't been focused on the solutions. I'm about solutions.
Right.
I'm about making sure that this may be the problem, but what are we going to do to rectify this particular issue? What are we going to do to bring about change that we have within ourselves in order to be able to move something forward? And that's what the First Step Act is. Yeah. I'll also say this. I direct our Empathy Network. Our Empathy Network is a coalition of 3,000 people nationwide, a subset of 300 organizations, and another subset of 75 organizers. And what we want to do, and our aim is simply to increase empathy. Increase empathy around criminal justice reform, around survivors of violence, and also around people who are in substance abuse recovery, right? Because we are in a space and time in our nation, in our society, where the love of many is waxing cold, and so we really need empathy, if not ever before in life, in order to make sure that people understand that, but for the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I can attest to that. One of the first activations that happened in my return to humanity, in my personal humanization, was I started to feel empathy. And it was an absence that I had prior to that. And I've been inspired by a lot of things. I read a lot of books and used what I read to construct a father figure for myself. And one of the things that I read was that, to be human, you're going to feel something. You're going to experience some emotion. And so when I first started feeling empathy for people, seeing somebody get victimized on the yard and feeling like, damn, like that just wasn't cool.
Right.
And once upon a time, I would have did it been business as usual. Like, man, I'm going to the store. I don't care what happened to get him off the yard and say resume so I could go get my canteen and get back in here and call my family.
Right.
I wouldn't have cared at all. There came a point where that changed and I started to feel too much. But I was grateful because better to feel it and it be the right thing to feel than to feel nothing.
Because that got to be a weird feeling too, to just be numb and void of just
right, or to not even be conscious that you're numb. And so the sensations that started coming when I started experiencing empathy for other people informed me that had been absent from my life prior to me. I hadn't had the ability to experience compassion. And now how can I request it?
I love this brother, man. I'm going to give him a hug right now.
I'll take that.
When you start feeling like all these emotions, like you're void of these emotions for a long time,
right? You
start feeling this all of a sudden. Do you look at yourself at first like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Or like, am I being a bitch right now? Like, what am I doing?
Wait, hold up. I got to push back on that notion. I love it.
Shoot it.
Yeah, I got.
I'm not saying that's the right mentality. I'm just saying, how do you perceive it? Because if you never felt it before,
get there? How'd I get there to ask that question?
Exactly,
Shoot.
right? Like, so I want to push back on that because, you know,
What's there to push back on?
well, I guess
Societal psychological.
yeah,
Psychology.
I think that the notion, right? Like, is it female for me to feel?
No, that's not where I was going with it.
Okay,
We're not
all right,
saying
that's not where I was
you.
going with it.
I'm
No,
talking
not
about
saying
the
you.
societal.
But most people, when you look at somebody, right, like when you look at somebody like my brother, you look at somebody like me who did time, right? And there's a stereotype about doing time. You can't have empathy, and I think that this is what he's constructing.
It is.
You are not supposed to have empathy while you incarcerated.
Yeah, survival
And I
tactics,
know
for sure.
exactly.
It's a
I know you
survival,
don't feel
right.
that way because you've expressed empathy for me.
Yeah,
so I know
definitely,
that ain't
man.
where you going. But this is about, hey, boys don't cry.
Yes.
Right. I
Right.
fall and scrape my knee. Get up, boy. Quit crying, boy. Men don't cry.
And it's
That's a
funny 'cause
cold
we-
thing to tell a 5-year-old,
Yeah,
a
it's
9-year-old. Boys
Yeah.
don't cry.
Yeah.
Boys, real men play hurt. Right? Well, my bell is rung, but I got to go back in the game. I threw up in the trash can, but I got to go back in the game because men play hurt. Right?
Right.
So I can't even have empathy for myself to say I don't feel well and stand my ground. I don't feel well. Like Kawhi Leonard had to do and was persecuted for it, man. I don't feel well.
Right.
That man went against $1 billion industry and the media because he said, I don't feel well. That somebody had to have taught him that and reinforced his right. I was absent. I was devoid of that particular lesson, and what had been poured in me was the societal expectations of
Right.
what a man, especially a black man,
Exactly.
the
The
miseducation,
miseducation.
what I was and
Right.
was not
Right.
supposed to
Right.
express when it came to feelings.
And
And
I
so
was
that
gonna say,
that
Common-
did make me ask that question that you asked.
Yeah.
Like, damn, man, quit being a bitch, man. Like, fuck it. Or am I gonna get a visit or not? You talking to somebody for years, I wouldn't get up and get ready for a visit, right? And now we got to dig into the underlying causative factors of this. Why am I not ready for my visit, even though I gotten one every week straight for 8, 9, 10 years straight, but I won't get ready because I'm afraid that you're not coming.
Exactly.
I got abandonment
yeah,
issues.
yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
little
that's-
boy in me
yeah,
that's scared
yeah,
you're not
That's
coming.
crazy, man.
Right? So I'm going to abuse my own woman or my mother that's waiting out here for 30 minutes, an hour because
loves
I
you.
just got in the shower because and the reason, and I'm doing it from a hardcore, man, I ain't getting ready for no visit. I'm watching the game. They come and they come.
So how do you deal with those emotions? Because what I was going to say earlier was that Common was here earlier talking
Right.
about his new book and about how that book is kind of a self-help for men to kind of learn how to love
Yeah.
and be okay with that. But he wants to talk about people in that book that, you know, maybe like with the mentality from the hood and won't be able to express those feelings. So
Yes,
how
sir.
do you
Yes, ma'am.
find that expression to be able to be like, okay, I'm wrong. I'm doing this the wrong way. How do you fix that?
Okay, so my brother Lewis touched on it. I have to have a psychological and a spiritual awakening
Right.
within myself. Personally, a lot of it, they locked me in the dungeon, threw me a TV because that's a new babysitter. And what I used it to watch Miss Winfrey, right? And Miss Winfrey educated me about emotions and about how to properly go about dealing with things or how to properly, hey, you don't know me, so I don't have to be concerned with what you think about me. What you think about me is none of my business. That came from her. I put it on the wall on a piece of paper. You know what I mean? Jay-Z said they don't want you to get your life together. So your attaboy ain't gonna come from them.
Yeah.
I cut that out the book, destroyed the book, and put that on the wall and left it there for 4 or 5 years while I finished my time. I had to challenge. I had to have a spiritual and a psychological awakening. First of all, then I had to accept that had occurred. Right? And I love that brother Common. I love him. He's helped me. Hip hop has been a vessel for education from its inception.
Yup.
We've also had the comical aspect that we talked about. Rapper's Delight and The Message hit the charts at the same time in 1979. We've always had that duality. He's the DJ, I'm the rapper. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. This has always been hip hop. Common was somebody I learned from the educational aspect of what this culture is, and I aspire to reach that point that he's hit. But the bottom line is I had to confront, first of all, why I was not okay with these truths that I was starting
Right.
to run into. Then I had to find like-minded men. So I had to go to groups because this is where our fathers are, our uncles are. I just did 26 years with our dads and uncles and brothers. That's where they were. And when I changed my life, I found them. There was a sub. I'm sure you experienced this in the feds. There's a sub community. There's an underground in prison. When I went to group, they was all there.
Wait,
I
when you
went
say
to
there's a
services,
sub-community or
they
like
was all
an
there.
underground community, what do you mean?
There's 3 communities that I found. There's the ignorant. We gonna hang out on the monkey bars all day and do pull-ups and talk about what Jay-Z wore and Beyonce wore to the award show.
Right.
And then there's a community that's saying, I'm going to school and I don't care what y'all think out here.
Right.
I got to walk past that to go to school. And then what they going to say, oh, homie, you ain't working out today? I'm going to get it, bro, when I get an hour, though, but I got to go to this class. You got to be willing to confront that. Because that's a judgment, and it's a microcosm of the judgment that comes from the larger society and the way that we've miseducated ourselves to treat each other. Then there's another, when now I'm going to self-help groups, and I got to sit here and listen to men from rival gangs, to men from, if they've reached the point of being courageous enough to say so, cry because his mother died, man. What I'm going to do?
Which is crazy because you should cry when your mom dies.
Right,
But you've been so institutionalized, and I guess out of survival, that it's even hard to do that.
I think that we even institutionalize even when we are free. So you think about it, right? Like, so if let's say, for instance, if me and a homie and we doing our 1-2 and we still banging and we haven't been transformed by the renewing of our mind, right? And something happens, the only time that we really have permission to cry, think about it, right? Is if we getting high, if we drinking.
You can cry when you high.
I mean, no. And something has to happen.
Influence.
Something has to happen, and we have to be under the influence, right? And then it has to be one of them, like the men cries, like, yo, man, you know what I'm saying? That was the homie, right?
Somebody's cutting your face right now.
Yeah. One of them.
I'm going to give him that.
And then when we do that, he's going to lean over and he's going to say, yo, man, like, toughen up, man.
Right.
He wouldn't want us acting like, how we acting.
You know why? Because real men don't cry, bro.
Exactly.
It's been drilling us, man.
Drill.
And, as you were talking, I was thinking about this book that I read, and I always go back to it annually. I just finished rereading it. I've been reading it since 2005 or 6 or so. This book by T.D. Jakes is called Emotions. And it's talking about how a man's relationship with himself, a man's relationship with his creator, and a men's relationship with other men. And also a men's relationship with his significant other. And I think that, for me, that increased my emotional literacy about who I am, right? Like, I'm still in development, and I'm still, there's still wrinkles that I have, about my personality, so on and so forth. But that was one of those things that gave me permission to really say, yo, you know what? Like, a lot of the stuff that I was taught when I was a shorty, like, that wasn't right. Like how I was groomed or how I was conditioned.
You know what's so crazy hearing about you guys talk too, because it might not be the same exact experience, but I feel like everyone in a different way goes through these things that we're talking about. I mean, here's just in a different way, because, by the time I got like in my late 20s, early 30s, I said, holy shit, I was miseducated. Yeah. My single mom and stepdad taught me a lot of shit that was kind of wrong, but it's all they knew, so it's not their fault. Exactly. And then, I'm 30 years old, 31, 32, trying to figure out, how do you even be in a proper relationship?
Yeah.
How do you even do this
listen
properly?
to what you're saying.
It's like,
at 31, 32,
exactly.
Right? Like, think about how many lives you done ruined on your way to 31.
I didn't ruin that many lives. And for the record, and Paulina knows this, all my bitches still do love me. All my bitches love me. They all love me.
You their favorite ex.
Yes.
It's a such thing. There's a line.
But think
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
But think about me. Like, by the time I was 23 years old, when I got indicted, I had 6 kids by 4 different women.
Woo!
Let me just let that sink in.
Right. We just had to let that breathe for a quick second.
6 kids by 4 different women.
And there's no glory in the story. The point of the story is to convey humility.
It's real life, man.
And
it's
it's conveyance of humility, because that's where this is going.
Right. So I think about like how at 30 you figured it out.
Yeah.
Right. No, at 30 you embarked on the odyssey to figure it out. Right. Like the light bulb went off and like, yo, something's
up.
Yeah, something's up here. Right. Like I ain't been in a stable relationships at all.
I kind of started to realize. You just realize as you grow up, and then there's 2 things that happen as it pertains to parents, but it's kind of like an overall metaphor. You start to realize that like everything you've been taught isn't the truth. And you realize around your late 20s, holy shit, my parents aren't really superheroes. Right. They're human beings.
Yes, sir.
I realized
just like
that
everybody
I think when
else.
I was 15.
See, I didn't know that at first, because to me it was like, and then you start to just realize real life, and you realize, I got tap from whether it be a brother or a mother or a father. That was wrong. It's probably better to operate like this. Even to this day, I learn things in this building all the time. You know what I'm saying? With artists and like from people I work with, and like somebody might say something. I feel like I could talk about this shit all day, man. This is such a good conversation.
And it's beautiful though, and I'm gonna say this. look what you did with your life, though.
Right.
And like, how many people can be impacted, first of all, by your willingness to even bring up and broach the subject of, I didn't know what I was doing all the way. I had to learn. I had to realize that I was incorrectly programmed. Because like I was taught, my mentor's name is John Ponder. The organization is Hope for Prisoners. And he said more in a household, when you're dealing with parent and children, a parent and child, more is caught than taught. He say more is caught than taught. So you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but I'm going to catch what I see, though, and I'm going to catch what I hear. Don't you smoke no weed out there, boy. What I'm going to do?
Right.
I'm blowing.
Yep.
You going to be drinking, but I'm drinking. I'm more is caught than taught. And so you caught a lot. And no matter how much you have been taught, you caught a lot, and what you caught manifested itself in your behaviors, period.
Yep.
And so now you had to be empathetic towards yourself. The compassion got to start internally, which is headed toward where Common's point was. I got to have the willingness. You had to have the willingness to be compassionate towards yourself and say, we got this, though. I forgive you for that.
Yeah.
But we got this. Because if I can't forgive myself for it, I can't change. If I can't change, my life is going to stay in the same little rut that it was in already. And you did that.
Yeah.
And so, man, I salute you for it. Because I don't care where
Thank
it had
you,
to
man.
happen
Thank
at.
you.
It don't matter where you did it, prison, streets. It was necessary.
And then you realize, and I like how it's supposed to be a music conversation, but it's turned into just men talking about self-help. Men know talking about it. 'Cause a lot of times, women do this a lot, Paulina, but men, like you said, it's like a macho thing. We don't talk about this.
Yeah, but it's also a cultural thing, I think.
I think so, too.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
part-
black and brown communities aren't, open to speaking about abuse that might have happened in the family or
Yes, ma'am.
a relationship that they know is a bad relationship and they're still in it. So I think it's not so much just a man and woman thing, but it's definitely a cultural thing and how
It
you
is.
grew up.
And there's aspects to it that honestly have to be admitted that women got it worse because the subtlety of it, ours is blatant. We can notice that.
Right.
It's a hammer being swung at my head. Y'all got something a little bit more. It got a pink, furry little one of them sheath on the back. So it's coming and it's pink and pretty, but they trying to hack y'all up. And so y'all have it's not easy to navigate being a woman, what femininity is, what beauty is and is not. There's a lot you got to go through, and that's a psychological war that's being waged on the minds of people in the communities, and it's not just on it predominantly impacts black and brown people.
Right.
But even what does a larger white female have to feel about what beauty is and is not when
Right.
she's seeing something that she can't, that don't match her image?
You hop on Instagram.
Right.
And now it's funny because now I look on Instagram and I love an Instagram ratchet as good as much as the next man. So don't get it twisted what I'm saying.
Shout out all my internet, my Instagram
I love
ratchets.
y'all. I like y'all better than the actresses and models, to be honest with you.
Salute.
But also, the grown-up in me, you could see some of the times you see these girls on here, you could tell it roots from low self-esteem, and it's like they got the angles, they got the airbrush, half-naked picture, but they're talking about, something completely different, just trying to get people's attention. And I sit back kind of a little bit older now, like, it's because you don't love yourself, man.
Sad. It's
That's
sad.
where it all stems from. Like, once even I got self-esteem about myself, my radio career went through the roof. And I realized, I was like, oh, you didn't believe in yourself enough. But the moment I just hit the switch in my mind and said, if this nigga can do this shit, I definitely can do this shit.
For sure.
And I realized that was 100% fact in my mind. The self...
Yeah, you light up.
Too much
You light up.
self-esteem now.
Every time I had the pleasure of interacting with either the two of you, there's an energy. It's a light that's on, and that light doesn't come from outside validation. That light came from inside. You turn that light on.
Yeah.
You turned it on.
I think that more love equals more power. The more love that you have about yourself, and the more love that you have for the world and for other people, back to that empathy piece, the more power that you have. Right. And not necessarily power in terms of like having control over other people, but you got more control over yourself. You know what your no is. Right. Like, I'm going to know my no. I'm going to know when, you know what? Like, this ain't good for me. I don't care how sweet of an opportunity it may appear to be. Like, this ain't for me.
Sometimes saying no is the better,
Is a better yes.
It's a better look. Yeah, exactly. It's a better look for whatever you're trying to do in life than to say yes and sell out on some,
That's beautiful.
Even...
I know we got to wrap it up. I want to touch on something. There's Inky Johnson has a inspirational video where he says, "What do you do?" And everybody believes that they believe in it, and shout out to that. He said, "What do you do when God says no?" Like, he had a dream. He wanted to be an NFL player. He's playing for Tennessee. He went to tackle somebody. First of all, he was informed that he was going first round in the draft.
Yep.
So he got 10 games left to finish his college season, and he was about to change the lives of his entire family. He hit somebody, and it has internal bleeding. He's paralyzed, and he's on the operating table about to die. He wakes up, and they tell him football's over with.
Damn.
It's over with. And that was his dream. What do you do when God says no? And so we talking about what my no got to be a no, my yes got to be a yes. God's no's and yeses going to be no's and yeses too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And what do we do when we run into him? He modified his life experience. And so I try to say, if your no is a no, can I modify my approach? Right. If my no is a no, can that be modified to the receiver? You know, it all connects to me.
Yeah.
All right, there's one thing I got to hit on because we don't got much time.
Shoot it.
And just know you got to come back because we still got to have the in-depth music conversation.
Let's go.
If you don't know, me and X-Rated are both like music nerds, right?
It's terrible. I'm
like
the original thug
though.
nerd.
Yeah.
I admit it. It's all good, man. Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, I got all that.
Yeah, and I really want to have that conversation with you. But right now, while I got you here, we do got to touch on the new music, the new album, all that. Where do you want to start? Tell me about this new album, man.
Man, the album is called California Dreamin'. I signed a deal with BMG. Shout out to Brian Shafton, man. Justin Supplewitz has been awesome. Ja'Cory Lamont. The people at BMG have been incredibly supportive. Daniel Schaap, my attorney. I created an album that is a journey of this discussion we having.
Right.
You know, it starts out, it's real dark. I lure them in. It's real dark and angry in the beginning, gangsta as they would call it in traditionally West Coast. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I give them four wake-up tracks to kind of change the momentum and start expressing enlightenment. So I cut it in almost 4 segments. And by the end, it's an expression of joy and gratitude and it turned up. So the album is a journey. California Dreamin' is a metaphor for me wishing to be free and finally getting it, but it still feel like a dream. Mm-hmm. Like 10 months ago, I was in a cell.
That still bugs my mind.
And now
because even your demeanor.
Now with y'all two,
this is already your second time up here.
Come on, man, I'm living a dream.
And even your demeanor is of somebody who's just happy, grateful, humble. It's so crazy to me because, and I even speak for myself, I don't know if 10 months later I could be able to revert like that.
It's not even
that
a year,
quickly, man. It's not even a year yet.
It's faith. It's faith. And that faith is so strong that I accept what I got to do to be able to communicate what I would like to communicate. I go to my graduation, Louis Reed is there, right? Louis Reed respects what I got to say. The man just flew back from New York with Jay-Z. Ain't even bothered to post it. That's how real it is. Damn. It ain't even a postable. He'll post it when he want to post it.
It's just a Tuesday.
Yeah. And now I'm sitting in K-Day. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And talk about what's happening tonight.
Yeah, so tonight we got a conference on criminal justice reform. We're going to be dealing with Cut 50.
Artists and athletes and actors.
Yeah, Cam will be there. Yeah. You know, shout out to Meek Mill. And so it's a big moment. And my album ties into that. My last song is called Never Gave Up, Blessed. And the point of that song is really that this is how I got through it and anybody else could do it too, and that I'm reaffirming my dedication to making sure that my mission statement, I came home to be a service to my community, period. So that's what my album is about, but there's a huge party in it. There's a huge party
Which
that
brings us
pops
to this event
up
tonight, right?
Yeah.
So 10 months ago, my man was in a cell. Where you at tonight? Not only doing the right thing for a righteous cause, but, you know, stun on him real quick.
I'm in Beverly Hills.
Oh.
At a convention, at a conference at the Four Seasons. For Cut 50 to raise awareness to people that are still suffering the injustices that exist in criminal reform and the criminal justice system. That's what it's about. Meek Mill, Kim Kardashian to be there. The support goes all the way up to Jared Kushner. It goes all the way up to Donald Trump. It's that serious. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like we said, whatever somebody's philosophical or political lanes are, we can all agree on what basic human decency requires. And maybe, you know, we can't, all lanes ain't my lane. So I don't, immigration, somebody else got to address that. I'm going to address criminal justice reform. My brother Louis L. Reed is going to address that. Jay-Z is pledged to do that. Meek Mill is pledged to do that. And my mentor, John Ponder, is pledged to do that. So I'm just going to follow that lane because that lane is the lane that I've been blessed in repeatedly. So I'm a believer. So we talking about faith. 10 months ago, I was in a cell. and now I'm here with y'all.
right.
Ain't nobody
What's up,
tell me nothing about glory, man, about God, nothing.
Yeah.
Period.
That's so crazy.
I'm a believer. It is what it is.
And look out for me to be rapping on the next album.
Oh,
On the X-rated album
No,
or
I'm
Jay's
kidding.
album? Both.
I'm kidding.
Well, hey, man.
My rap days began and ended when I was 10.
he gonna rap a mean gift though for my birthday on the 30th.
Exactly.
It's funny you said 10 because I tried to rap when I was 10 too. And I realized even at 10 years old,
Yeah, it
I was
was
whack
really
as
10.
fuck.
Yeah.
But I was like, I could be a good DJ though.
That's
Yeah,
why we
you know?
kicked it. We busted a freestyle together that probably would have been a hit though.
Which
we
one?
was like, woo, woo, woo.
Oh,
we just
yeah.
made
Woo,
one.
woo, woo.
It would have been a hit. You was
I'm on pills. Yeah, that might be one. I ain't gonna lie.
It might be
if you give me a
one,
hard
never
ass
know.
beat, that might be
We
one.
got beats. Shout out to Molly Mall. So I got production from Molly Mall. I got production from the Mechanics. Shout out to the Mechanics, the hottest producers in the Bay Area. With all due respect to DJ Fresh and Tracks a Million. The Mechanics are the hottest producers in the Bay Area. We got them. I got my boy Spencer, who you met last time I
Yup,
came up
yup.
here. Shout out to Spencer for giving me some fire. Amazing album, Joey Maestro, Filthy Richard. Amazingly strong production on this record. A salute to traditional West Coast hip hop with a burst, a little bit of that new, so that we can make sure
Right.
that the ears are
Stays relevant.
receptive to the new sound. So it's very relevant and competitive, and it drops this Friday. The single is out right now, Get Off Me. The single California Dreamin' is out right now.
That's the one I like, yeah.
Video at 1.3 million views on
Yeah,
YouTube. Holla at
man.
your boy.
Because I think when you first came here, the video might have came out like a day or two before. I don't remember completely. But
Well,
I looked
I
at
had
it right
dropped
now.
a
And it's,
video right before I came here, but that one was a little bit earlier. Like I walked out and made sure that happened and started working on
you
that
in the
album.
Million Club for sure now.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, hey, man, that's what it is. X-rated in the building.
Yeah. Pull up on your boy. I'm in Bakersfield with Brother Lynch Hung at the Fox Theater. Pull up. It's going to be a beautiful show this Saturday, July 27th. So the album drop on the 26th. A day later, me and Brother
Wait, have
Lynch
you and
Hung.
Brother Lynch Hung performed before?
We, you know what? We performed when we were very young,
Uh-huh.
27, 30 years ago. I'm going to just say that. Like
So this is like
1992.
historic, man. Because this was never supposed to happen.
And we talking about a community convention center, like a little, it was probably like 300 some people in there if we was lucky. This right here, a different animal. We have Fox Theater, Bakersfield. It's a whole different animal. And it is a historic
I know
moment.
Bakersfield loves you guys.
They do, and we drawing them. They coming from all over the place. I've been doing shows all over the place, and they've been like, man, I'll see you in Bakersfield. People from Seattle, people from everywhere I've been
Yeah.
going, like, we coming to Bakersfield because they don't know we going to get another show. I'm like, hey, they produced the bag, so if they produce the bag, we going to put on the show. But if not, this might be the only chance they get to see it. We got some phone calls I've been fielding earlier today, so it looked like we're going to do some more. But for now, it's Bakersfield, and it is a historic moment. Shout out to Brother Lynch Hung, one of the most legendary rappers we got from Northern California. My brother has been there for me. I walked out of prison, and the brother pulled up. He went from, he ain't with the airplanes. He old school. He like BA from 18. You gotta knock him out. You gotta knock him out to get him on the plane. The boy drove all the way from Los Angeles to Oakland, where they paroled me to involuntarily with no family and no support.
And we talked about the whole story of that in the last interview. So if you want, it was a great story. So, check that out too.
Yeah, check that out. So he drove and he showed that love. He was in my video, my first video that I did. My wife, I don't put him on blast, but every time we FaceTime, we was in that moment again, trying not to cry, talking to each other. So this is a historic moment. Shout out to Big Bro, Brother Lynch Hung, for even being willing to make sure that I was out there correctly.
Tell
and
him
it's
we
gonna
gotta
be
bring
a
his
big
ass
show.
up here too, man.
Oh, here it come.
Yeah.
Here it come.
Maybe we get both of you guys in here. That'd be kind of tight.
That's easy.
That'd be tight.
That's easy to do. That's
Done.
easy to do.
Done.
All right, you tell me when, and I'll pull up with
Done.
Brother Lynch.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, nah,
Salute
hey.
to Lewis Reed, man, before we leave. Shout out for Cut 50. Everybody get educated on that. Support your people. Somehow we've all had 6 degrees of separation of impact from the criminal justice system at this point in American history, specifically in California. I'm going to speak to that. We know that the voters have experienced that because that grandmother who was afraid and wanted 3 strikes is the same one who voted to repeal it.
One more question.
Or modify it. Shoot it.
And I'm sorry, Allison, but I got to ask this question because you're in the prison system in California. You're in the prison system in New York.
In the feds.
I was in the feds, but I did my time in New York.
I would just love to know your guys' opinion, whether it be good or bad or indifferent. But Kamala Harris. She's running for president.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said about her being a former prosecutor here in California.
Indeed.
And a lot of people have mixed emotions. I'm one of them because sometimes she says stuff and I'm like, that's great. I'm glad you're behind that. But then sometimes I see her do things or I know things she's done in the past. And from my limited perspective, never been in the legal system before, I look at it and I don't, I think there were some things that were kind of shady. You know what I'm saying? So I'd love to know your guys' opinion as probably being a lot more involved and knowing a lot more than I know.
Yeah, at this juncture, I'm very indifferent. There has been no political candidate that has emerged that I can say without a shadow of a doubt, like this is my person. Obviously, I come from a black woman. As light skinned and as she is,
one drop.
Yeah. I'm into like girl power, and I think that Kamala is one of the most gifted political minds that we have in Congress. But I have questions about her. I have questions about her prosecutorial decisions.
Yeah.
And so there's a conflict that I have there.
Yeah, and that's me too.
Yeah.
My mom is very light too.
Yeah.
People say her Ayala, they assume that like I'm Mexican or something. But nah, man, we out here, you know what I'm saying? But my mom,
so on behalf of the dark men,
I just want to say that we bring a light skinned brothers back, man.
Wesley Snipes, that I call it biracial excellence.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
there we go. I got one of them at home and she's young and beautiful. So hey, it is what it is. What I do know is that for me personally, I don't believe a candidate has emerged that I'm gonna stake mine to yet. I would like to let it flesh out. I know that we all capable of change and growth.
Right.
So now has she grown from what those issues were, and can she acknowledge that those issues exist? That would be a question for me. But I could tell you unequivocally that if it wasn't for Governor Jerry Brown, if it wasn't for Senator Lonnie Hancock, and it wasn't for Gavin Newsom, I wouldn't be talking it in this microphone by the grace of God.
Right.
Let me say that. Through them, he manifested me sitting here. So she's had a lot to do with those policies that ultimately recognized brain development, because you hinted at that at around the age of 20, well, scientifically 25, we have the full, complete development of the prefrontal lobe and the decision-making process, recklessness, ideation. She was a part of making sure that got put in place, right? And as a result of that, we got Senate Bill 260 and Senate Bill 261, both of which she voted for, right? That resulted in people who were 15 years old and prosecuted for murder and thrown away with 100 years to life.
That's crazy.
Because they didn't believe they were capable of change. That resulted in them going to board, having consideration that they were children when the crime was committed, raised in the age of what they perceived childhood to be. Because if you my child, I keep you on my insurance till you're 25. And it says child. Right? So in that lane, by way of what Barack Obama had done, they recognized your child until 25 could be on your insurance. But they didn't recognize that same child when it came to criminal justice system going to court needed some considerations too. She had something to do with making sure that changed, and I benefited from it. So I'm aware that that's a far distance from her, whatever she had done as a prosecutor. So now can there be some acknowledgement that there were some, some things that can be considered less than desirable, stellar. If she can acknowledge, I had to acknowledge that, and I continue to acknowledge that, and so I would like for her to do that. And if she can, I'd be more than open to considering whether or not she was someone I wanted to support. That's really what I need from her right there, because everything else that I've seen her do in the past, say 10 years that I've been aware of, 09 to now, I'm feeling it. So I just need that. And if I could ask her, that would be my question.
I'll also say she supported the First Step Act as well.
Holla.
So, again, I know that you guys are far much more vested into the Kamala candidacy, by her being from California
and from the Bay Area.
right.
Well, I don't want to say I'm not. I would like to say I'm indifferent. I'm just like you. I'm still figuring out.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out.
I have an idea,
I'm
but
still trying to run, figure out, like, I'm still trying to figure some people out.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And
And that's what our electoral
time.
system is supposed to be about, right? Like
I agree.
It's supposed to be about vetting candidates. It's supposed to be about beyond sound bites, and it's supposed to be beyond like these 60-second Instagram posts, etc. We supposed to really be interrogating.
It's supposed to be like that, but that doesn't really happen in real life. People are really out here just looking for the 15-second. Oh, okay, this is what the bill is about.
Well, I think it's crazy is things like this
I
is
agree.
when the actual conversation happens. Believe it or not, and that's why I feel like it's our responsibility because these things are so influential, man. Like way more influential than the news anchor on TV telling you who to vote for or don't do this or don't do that. This is what changes the hearts and minds, which ultimately I think affects the change.
Or at least gets the conversation going and gets people interested in like, okay, I'm gonna Google this, or maybe I might not know about this bill, but now that I heard X-Rated talk about it, okay, cool, I'm gonna go look that up.
Yeah.
Wait,
So it's
guys.
just opening up that conversation.
I agree. And I'm going to say this. There's a lot of aspects to Donald Trump we can examine that he's done that people got to keep it 100. Like, you got to respect what he just did right there. So it's not going to be cut and, dry. Everything got to be looked at. And I think the responsibility of an educated adult is to demonstrate, like we said, more is taught than caught. And I'm making sure that my children are catching me, consider all lanes and all aspects and being open to things I like about Trump and things that I question about Trump and acknowledging either in the appropriate setting and being honest about that as a man and respectful too. And can I be the person that could do such a thing? And I believe I can, and that's what I aspire to be, period.
Guys, we are way over time, but I can talk for like another hour right now.
California
man. Especially
Dreaming in
about-
stores
Get
Friday,
that
July 26th. Holla at your boy.
X-Rated.
Hey.
935K. They know Ayala. Shout out Paulina from the middays.
From the Valley to the Bay to LA.
Yay.